Welcome back. So, former Finance Minister Trevor Manuel has been appointed to lead a panel of experts from the African continent to ensure South Africa's ambitious agenda for its G20 presidency is implemented. Now, South Africa is pushing for the G20 bloc to compel the IMF and the World Bank to provide cheaper finance to poor countries while lessening the burden of Africa's public debt crisis. Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana made the announcement on the final day of the first meeting of Deputy Central Bank Governors and Deputy Finance Ministers from G20 member countries. Business editor Xolani Mbanjwa has more.
So the first meeting of the G20 under South Africa's presidency has come and gone. This meeting has discussed a number of issues, including artificial intelligence, climate finance, and the reconfiguration of multilateral finance institutions such as the World Bank and the IMF.
We will appoint a panel of experts, of African experts, which will be led by Minister Trevor Manuel, whose work will be to ensure that the vital work of this finance track is supported. As you are aware, Minister Manuel has also been appointed by the United Nations. For us, it's quite important that there will be synergy between our work and that work of the United Nations.
Reserve Bank Governor Lessening, in his keynote address, reminded delegates from the finance track, which involves national treasuries and central banks, why the finance track is the most important segment of the G20.
We have the summit, which is where the big decisions are taken, but the real hard work is done by the finance track, because that is the history of the G20, to deal with global financial issues.
Kganyago also adds that he believes that central banks around the world have done enough to cushion consumers from runaway inflation.
There are many central banks in the advanced economies that tried to convince themselves that inflation was not persistent, that it was transitory, and but they soon realized that the inflation monster is here with us, and central banks eventually responded to that, and we are now talking about the disinflation process, and across the globe, inflation is coming down.
Kganyago also responded to why he is not concerned about U.S. President-elect Donald Trump's presidency as the world awaits his second term in the White House, and whether that second term will tinker with South Africa's agenda of the G20 under its presidency.
This was the year of the great election year, as it was called. There have been changes in political leadership across the world, and that is takes place all the time. But it doesn't have bearing on the priorities, because the priorities are set by the presidency, and in this case is the South African presidency.
The next series of meetings will continue at the beginning of next year with a high-level meeting of finance ministers and central bank governors from around the world, continuing with the work that has started in earnest in South Africa. For Newzroom Afrika on Channel 405, I'm Xolani Mbanjwa in Sandton, Johannesburg.